Hello YouTube! This is my first haul video. Normally I don't buy enough in a given month to make it worth doing a haul video, but it turns out that March was crazy in a whole lot of different ways. I worked a lot, and because of that, I guess I felt the need to buy a lot. Let's go through all this. These I picked up on a business trip to New York City. They had them there long before they were out at retail anywhere else in the US, as far as I know. This Laserbeak figure, this is all from the Siege line, is incredible. This is a Cybertronian Laserbeak that is just phenomenal. Definitely worth the price of admission, and it makes up for this horrible Ravage that is probably one of the worst Ravage figures we've seen in a long time. Continuing with the little guys, picked up Target Master Firebolt. Who cares what his actual name is, because he looks like Firebolt to me. This starts a little bit of the quality control issues I'm seeing with the Siege line, where this gun just does not want to stay on these pegs. Like, there's not enough tension there, and it doesn't quite fit right when you fold it all the way back. It just pops right off. And that's a real shame, because I'm actually seeing that in a ton of these Siege figures now that I'm, well, just kind of abandoned all pretense of not buying into this line wholeheartedly. So, jumping into the Siege, got Prowl, the new deluxe. He looks great. He has our table flipping action, and he turns into a fancy futuristic police race car, because that's what Prowl always does. So I like the Prowl. He could use another few paint applications, but at least he is not covered in battle damage. Ironhide, also a great figure. I really, really like this Ironhide. In fact, this is going to replace my general purpose Ironhide, and when the Ratchet, that is a Walgreens exclusive, comes out, I'm going to use that to replace the Ratchet in my Lost Light crew. His gun converts into a big old hammer, and he's got this, it's this very nice Generation 1 homage, where he's got this kind of empty chest that makes up a huge portion of the figure. And it really does harken back to that weird G1 figure that we all know and pretend to love. I picked up Chromia as well. I picked up Chromia a little bit later than the other two guys. She is the same female Transformer mold that we have seen for a number of iterations now. She does not have the combiner peg, I don't think. No, she doesn't. Apparently her waist falls off. That's the first for that. You can see that's barely held on there with two little pegs. Again, this goes to the quality control issues with the Siege line. Going back to Ironhide, he's got these side panels that just do not want to stay on. There's just not enough tension there for them to stay on. This is the sort of thing that should be secured with a pin, and just isn't, for whatever reason. I'm assuming cost control, quality control, who knows. This is Soundwave from the Siege line. Soundwave is the absolute best example of the battle damage that they're doing throughout the line through this. Looks like he's got spiderweb cracks all over his tape case, and the battle damage that he's got somehow looks better than every other figure, and that it doesn't just look like he's had paint splattered all over him. Again, going back to the quality control issues with the Siege line, this is my second Soundwave. My first Soundwave was missing completely one of these arm pieces, And then when I went to transform it the first time, the arm assembly actually broke. Not like fell apart in a way that's common to modern transformers, where like a ball joint or something will fall out of place. But no, it actually like straight up broke. This section of the arm, that little peg just broke right off. So I actually returned that and got this one. Most of these are coming from the Frankfurt Walmart. If you are in Kentucky, the Frankfurt Walmart is apparently the place to go for Transformer toys, and I guess forget I said that because I don't want you to take my stuff. So I picked up Starscream 2. I actually like him a lot better than I thought I would. In person, I have a whole Tetrajet on my back thing is much less glaring than it looks in the pictures. I love that his wings can be positioned in a bunch of different ways, and it gives him a lot of expression. Unfortunately, Starscream, again, one of these figures that suffers from poor quality control. His whole chest component here just wants to break off during transformation. I have actually seen that there is supposed to be a running change in this figure to put a pin in those joints right there. Frankly, I really hope Hasbro rethinks what they're doing with a lot of these joints that are really subpar, and it's kind of disappointing what they're doing here. I mean, that said though, these figures are actually really, really great, and I think this Starscream, even though he ends up with a large portion of his legs hanging out from under the jet, that's pretty much every Starscream toy that doesn't follow the classic transformation scheme. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this toy. We have Ultra Magnus from the Siege line, and I have nothing but good things to say about this. It's an Ultra Magnus that has a waist pivot. I love the way that the armor comes on and goes off. It is like super reminiscent of Generation 1, and you're gonna take my word for it. But the armor is actually like, it's all modular pieces. So this comes off, this comes off, this comes off. These arm pieces come off, and then from there you're just looking at that core white Optimus robot. And again, I'm thrilled that they've gone this way with this figure. It turns out to be a really nice figure that I really like. Going into the Studio Series, I never thought I would buy a Studio Series figure. I really didn't. I think my opinion of the Bay movies is well documented. I do not like it. It actually got me out of Transformers for a while. But you know what? This is actually pretty cool. A G1 style Optimus Prime that does just a little bit of like Bayformer design. I like this. This is, of course, Studio Series Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie. He turns into, an 84 Freightliner truck, or whatever year that was. I really like this figure. He's got a very interesting head sculpt, and I think they've done just a really neat hybrid design figure here. This makes me very happy. I also ordered this crazy Megatron from Hasbro Pulse. I ordered it primarily for this head, which I don't know if it's going to white balance on that. But you can see this is almost an IDW style Megatron head. I like it very, very much. This is different than the head sculpt on the Siege Megatron figure that is out in stores in his regular color scheme. Obviously, this is harkening back to G2, and It's a fun little figure, especially for one of the very first Hasbro Pulse exclusives. I'm very pleased I picked this up. Then the other things we've got back here are the Walmart reissue of Gears and Warpath. These are figures 5 and 6 in the reissue Minibot line. I don't believe they have announced any more past these, but we'll wait and see. And then I picked up at the Lexington Toy or Comic and Toy Con this Flame Toys Optimus Prime model kit that I am hoping to make a video of assembling, but it is a very Gundam style robot mode only Optimus Prime. So that's going to be a lot of fun to put together. Looking forward to doing that when I have a little bit of time. And then there are a couple of other things that I picked up. Like I said, I went to the Lexington Comic and Toy Con, and Bob Budiansky was there. And so I was able to get his signature on some of these comics. This Transformers #1, I had Jim Shooter sign last year, so now I have Shooter and Bob Budiansky's signatures on it. That makes me very happy. Obviously, first issue of the Marvel comic. I was also able to find 2 very nice copies of Marvel Transformers #5 and #7. Issue #5 is special because it is the greatest comic book cover in all of comic bookdom, not just Transformers comic bookdom. This is one of the most beautiful images to come out of Transformers and one of the most iconic images to come out of Transformers ever. This was the first issue that Bob Budiansky took over regular writing duties on, and I had him sign that. And then issue 7 of the Marvel Transformers comic, Warrior School. This is where Ratchet goes up against Megatron. I've said before how I was not a big follower of the Marvel Transformers comic when I was a kid. I was definitely a cartoon kid as opposed to a comic kid. But I did have issues 5 through 9 in a collected edition that I read and reread and reread and reread. And this particular story with Ratchet going up against Megatron, this horrifically unbalanced fight where Ratchet has to use his brain and basically whatever he can find on hand to survive against Megatron, really stuck with me. This is one of my favorite Transformers stories. And then there's one more thing I picked up, and it may start me down a dark path. I hope not. Let's get some stuff out of the way. But I picked up a sealed, you can see the tape on there, on both sides, Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal Megatron. This figure is very special to me for a number of reasons. I have a Transmetal Megatron. He is, in fact, the first Transformer that I bought when I was in college. So I, of course, had G1 toys as a kid, and I had just a bare handful of G2. I had a Bumblebee, and I think that was pretty much it in terms of what I bought contemporaneously. But I happened to be at Toys R Us looking at Star Wars stuff one day in college. It would have been my sophomore year, maybe. And I saw this and the Transmetal Optimus Primal, and I had to buy both of them. $15 at the time. So, which $30 on toys was a lot of money when I was in college. This toy, unfortunately, suffers from not gold plastic syndrome, but a very similar issue where all this brown plastic is just very fragile. And so unfortunately, they break, and they break a lot. Mine that I have is broken in the robot mode shoulder. I was able to super glue it back, but it will never be transformed again. And so I saw this at the Lexington Comic and Toy Con, and I got very excited tried to hide how excited I was, but I was able to talk the guy down about $40 from what he was asking for it. This will stay in the box. I am frankly probably going to get some sort of acrylic like box to put it in so I don't have to dust it. I don't plan to start collecting things in sealed boxes, like antique sealed boxes, but this one piece makes me very happy to have, and I'm very excited to add it to my collection. So anyway, that is pretty much everything from my March. March was a great big month. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let me know. And if I ever have another month that seems like it's worth recording everything I got, I will do so. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.